Hello again, friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Sunday's Talking Town. I'm in unfamiliar surroundings this afternoon. I have been evicted from my usual studio, and I'm in a construction site. Well, not quite a construction site. It's slowly coming along, but this is the new office in the house, and we're slowly getting there. So if my sound's not great, apologies. If I don't look great, well, I can't actually do anything about how I look. That's just who I am. But we are getting there. Was supposed to be ready for the new season. The whole reveal next year, but well, Mrs. L said no. You gotta go. So here I am. Please do get active in our live chat. Normal rules do apply. We need your comments, your opinions, your thoughts following yesterday's sad 1-0 home defeat. Another set piece. I'm sick to the back teeth of talking about set pieces and nothing ever seemingly changing, except the town, of course, town conceding. That's a regular occurrence. We'll drop a link as well for you to come on your show. I'll come on your show because it is your show. It is the chance for you to have your say about your football club in whatever way you're thinking, such as Richard Chandler this afternoon. So I thought we played better second half than first, but played well on the whole against a team who are the best in the entire division this year away from home. I have to kind of agree with Rich in the sense of I didn't feel like there was much in the two teams, which when you consider one is where they are on the table, and as Rich says here, best in the entire division away from home, and we're getting relegated. Just adds to that frustration I've talked about all season long in regards to we're so close, but yet we're so far. And if we managed to stay in the division, you never know where the club could have gone, but we didn't. And of course, we hope to bounce back soon. I know we've got a comment on our match reaction show saying about how many wins we've had in the last XYZ and how the arrogance of the championship's got to stop. And it was hard to disagree with that one. Do you feel Town fans are a little bit arrogant going into next year? I don't think they are, but I'd welcome your thoughts on that. And don't forget, we are partnered with the East Anglian Air Ambulance. If you want to help to save lives and have the chance to win £1,000 every week, play the East Anglian Air Ambulance Lottery. By playing from just £1 each week, you're helping to keep their yellow helicopters flying. The East Anglian Air Ambulance Lottery creates 18 winners every week with prizes ranging from £50 to £1,000. I better get playing because this is not going to pay for itself, this office. Over 18s only. T's and C's apply, but please, whatever you do, if you play, please gamble responsibly. Mike Baker, yesterday's performance, plenty of endeavour, just lacking that killer quality. Brentford are an established Premier team. Typically, they are what we aspire to be up the town. Steve said, thanks, Steve. I appreciate that. Yeah, I welcome any suggestions. Might get some town memorabilia on this wall here. These do light up for the nighttime shows. I'm looking forward to seeing how I can progress this room. I've never actually had my own space. I've actually got a TV as well, so the family might not actually ever see me again. And of course, if you're watching on Catch Up, FTA, comment for that algorithm. But I've waffled on long enough. Let's bring in my contributor, my co-host, my friend for this afternoon, the man that's going to talk a lot to save this voice because it's already all over the place. It is Mr. Matthew Phillips. Welcome in, Matt. How you doing?
Good. I'm good, thanks. This is the first time I've seen the room as well. I mean, I've heard about this months ago that Martin was planning this. It's going to look good when you're at the night time and you've got the little blue lights in the background and everything. So if people are listening to this on Spotify or audio, come over to the YouTube so you can see it in its full impact when it's live and ready.
Yeah, we were discussing it for a while, haven't we? And we were sort of about we'll do it for next season, but as I say, Mrs. L stuck the elbows out and said, no, we need the bedroom back for the second.
Maybe I need a new backdrop because stop everyone thinking I'm sitting in bed.
Well, we are getting you a backdrop, aren't we? We are getting you one because the green screen I use, I now no longer need. So you're going to have that green screen. So Matt Phillips will come to you in HD next year. Won't be able to miss him. Need a Paul Lambert poster cover. Do you know what? I'm ever so sorry. I got rid of that.
I could bring Paul Lambert back on the green screen when it's here. Me and Paul together. Great times.
Yes, you could. What have you been up to this Sunday morning? How are we feeling after yesterday? What's going on in the Phillips world?
So if you watched the full-time show, you'd have seen Frank from Holland was over.
Excellent. Love Frank.
So me and Mike Woods took Frank over to the Black Horse for a couple of drinks. Despite the loss there, everyone was upbeat and there was a good vibe in the pub garden. That was good. Went up to Swan and Hedgehog, had one in there. That's when I departed, left them to it. This morning, more upkeep, not gardening, upkeep.
What have you been out this morning?
This time, doing the hedge outside. I'm not one. There's a fella down the road who does it with like right angles. Yeah. I've no idea. I'm sure he could put it into some kind of animal if he wanted. So he's got that skill. I'm just trying to keep it from being looking overgrown. Frank.
Just go and ask him. Just go and ask him. Just go and say, excuse me, mate. Can you do some right angles on my hedges, please?
Yeah.
Push up,
Could
keep
you?
is important.
Yeah. Could you do the right Mushmore of Ipswich managers into my hedge, please? I want McKenna in there. I want Lyle in there. I want Bobby Robson in there. That'd be good. That'd be good. Greeting as you arrived at my house. So I've been doing that, but that's risky, you see, mine, because of hay fever. So you've got the dodgy throat. I could start sneezing at any point, but
well, this is it, yeah. And that line there, I said inadvertently said a second ago, would have been a great Manscaped segue. Would have been a very good Manscaped. Yeah, when we had the Manscaped promotion, for those that were with us at the start, remember talking about those at the start. Richard China says alongside an Aaron Drinnan poster. If someone give me an Aaron Drinnan poster, I'll stick it up. All right, there's a promise you're never going to hear again. I promise you that.
The sliding doors moment for Aaron Drinnan, wasn't it? When he hit the bar against Wigan in that TV game behind closed doors, wasn't it? In the lockdown, when the season started. Yeah. Could have gone on to have a great town career, but it wasn't meant to be. You were very excited this week, weren't you, to find out the new Pope is a Bears fan?
I was. Yes, he is a Chicago Bears fan. Yes, brilliant.
Well, did you know we have papal connections, mine, in the town squad? Somto Boniface, because they listed all the names of the popes, and he's Leo the 14th, isn't he? The new guy. Yeah. But Boniface was very popular. It's the 8th most popular papal name. It was last used in the Middle Ages. It's an unusual name, isn't it? Yeah, Pope Boniface. So you have to go right back into the 1400s, the 1300s, all of that. So not to sound like local radio, but hopefully we'll get some divine performances from him when he eventually gets on the pitch.
You mentioned how they select the Pope, and I was very surprised this week to find that Paulie Walnuts, the character out of The Sopranos, the actor who played him, Tony Sirico, his brother is a part of that process. I was blown away by that.
Yeah, I was as well. So excited to Google it immediately because I thought he was making it up. But yeah,
Conclave. You hear it, and it's like, wow, okay, cool.
Good film that, by the way, Conclave. I think it's on Sky Cinema. It's good.
Never seen it.
About that process now.
Never seen it. I'll tell you what I have seen, though, in the last 24 hours, 48 hours, is once again, Ipswich Town was failing to deal with a corner. Once again, I've only been telling you all since October that, it stinks at set pieces. And now it's like every single week. And we often say on this show, Matt, it's a learning curve, the Premier League. We're learning. Well, I'll tell you one thing we ain't learning, and that's how to defend a set piece. Talk to me yesterday about the circus that was that whole situation. Where are you on it now?
We was all doom and gloom, wasn't it? Because it was the more opportunities they had to take the corner, the more likely we were going to concede, wasn't it? Yeah. It was all very odd, wasn't it? Because they have to retake it twice. I've watched it back on Match today, and I know again. I think if the Davis on Saka tackle means people just need to take a breath and actually see what's going on. So the ball was never actually in play for the first two corners, was it? That's why, because Greaves and Berg, was it? They tangled to begin with.
Well, it's funny because if you watch the Sky Sports replay, the first thing you hear is a whistle. Well, that's the very first thing you hear is a whistle before the ball.
Was that the first thing you could hear? Was it on Sky? Well, yeah. I had a look on, because the Premier League Match Centre is obviously on X, isn't it? Not that I'm on there anymore, but I went over there to have a little look and see what it said on that Greaves one. And it said so we thought they were looking at it as a penalty, weren't they? Yeah. I mean, this happens. You watch 100 Premier League games. No one ever gets a penalty from a corner and a tussle and the grab and all that. That just seems part and parcel these days. Unless, of course, it's Ipswich Town. So the referee's call of no penalty to Brentford following a potential holding offence by Greaves on Vanderberg was checked, confirmed by VAR, with the contact occurring before the ball was in play. So that was that one. And then we had the second one, which was then Taylor and that Norgard. Mm-hmm. He then books both of them, didn't he? I mean, you'd be booking everyone from every corner, wouldn't you? On that. We saw that with Delap and Byrne, didn't we? Dan Byrne at St James's. Yeah. We both got yellows for that. Is that happening in other games?
No, but that's the referee at that point in the game trying to put a stamp down, I think, trying to put a, because it's going on quite a lot. So he's trying to manage the situation, which I can't blame him for. So you book both players because they're both committing fouls, but equally you lay down that line that this has got to stop. Because in the second half, if you recall, I think he called both captains over up ahead of a set piece, and spoke to them. So he's trying to manage that situation. But what I don't understand, Matt, is obviously we were quite correct in the sense of if the ball's not been taken yet, it's dead, so it can't be a penalty. But if it's been taken and it's not a penalty, it shouldn't be a corner. So we were quite correct in our thinking post game. What I can't understand though, Matt, is why have VAR stepped in here? The referee hasn't awarded a penalty and he hasn't he's in fact told the kicker to take it again if you watch it back. So why have VAR seemingly overreached again in stepping into this game? And with the constant communication, why is the referee not just saying to the VAR team, ball wasn't in play, ball's not alive, I haven't done the whistle. Exactly. Like what? Because I don't want to defend our set piece defending because it's atrocious, but you stop the game for what was a few minutes.
Yeah,
the concentration goes, you switch off. And I'm not saying that's why we conceded, but I'm just saying why a VAR seemingly again elbowed out, we're coming in to get involved.
Yeah, it keeps happening with Town, doesn't it? We keep seeing this. And then by the same token, where was he when Visser tries that ridiculous overhead kick, boots Greaves in the head? Is that not endangering an opponent? He just then step in there. Did they go to the toilet at that point? I was going to get a cup of tea. Weren't around then, were they? I mean, that's endangering an opponent. Surely you're trying that overhead kick on the edge of the 6-yard box. And the ball is there to be won with a head. Yeah. I don't get it. I mean, we've had people sent off for worse than what we saw yesterday on that Visser one. I'm sorry, for less than what we've seen on that Visser one yesterday. Baffling. And of course, what did the crowd start singing? We want our football back, because it's just like not consistent enough week to week, is it?
And then I've always thought though with overhead kicks, if you were going to go down that path, you just kind of you'd be given almost red cards every single week, because normally there's somebody in the vicinity of a player who's about to do an overhead kick. And where does the endangerment end? Does he have to be standing right on top of him? Could he be 2 yards away? Like
this becomes blurred lines, doesn't it? That's blurred lines. I mean, you're literally flying through the air, studs up, to do an overhead kick. Do you know what I mean? The perfect overhead kick is escape to victory, Pele. Pass along Civil, actually. Have you ever seen that? Who's in goal for the Germans? But that's the perfect overhead kick. I think he's got acres of space. There's no acres of space for VC yesterday. And we've seen Town players for less get sent off.
Yeah.
And he stayed on. Look, I want to see players getting sent off. And I like VC and I like Brentford. I think they're a really good team. I think that's a model that Ipswich really would like to be like. And it's good. Look, once upon a time, they wanted to be like us. And then the Marcus Evans comes along and we stagnate. They go past us in the fast lane, and now we're trying to be like them. So good luck to them. But just the inconsistencies of it yet again, and we won't have it next season. We ain't got to worry about this anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course you don't defend the set piece, which is something we don't do. And as Rich Shiner said in the chat, he's also concerned about our attacking set pieces. Yep, I totally agree with you. Been saying that as well, and I'm with you there. But defensively, if you watch it back, I don't know if it's Keith Andrews, who's the Brentford set piece coach.
Keith.
Yeah. Obviously, saviour of Paul Jewell's job at one point.
Very good loan signing him, wasn't he? Got double-figure goals, didn't he? I seem to recall.
Barnsley away sticks out in my mind.
My free. Watch that in Tenerife, that one. One of my great Town moments. Me and a Norwegian bloke celebrating.
The joke now, obviously, isn't it? Paul Jewell was being sacked at half-time, and then Keith Andrews came out second half and saved his job because he was on fire that day. But he's their set piece coach, and I don't know if he's watched Town set pieces and found something, or if it's something they always have. But the goal scorer, if you watch it, he starts on Alex Palmer, and we don't put anyone with him. No. Then he just drifts in between two players who aren't aware he's there. Great header, good finish, not taking anything away from the player. But it just seems like, have they picked up on something we've done consistently, and they've thought we can expose that?
Probably.
Or is it either way?
Don't take much. Way,
why have we got an unmarked player? Why is he with our goalkeeper unmarked? Like, are we not going to protect our goalkeeper? And of course, it's just poor defending. It really annoys me. Because it's, if you've got a dedicated set piece coach,
apparently,
it's like the NFL, right? In the NFL, you've got 3 stages: defense, offense, and kicking. Special teams. Thank you very much. Yeah. If your special teams are really bad and you lose the game because of them, the special teams coach is on the hot seat. For me, it's no different here. If you can't score from a set piece and you can't defend a set piece, then your set piece coach is on the hot seat. Right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, it's not been. This is the only platform I think that questions it. You certainly don't see it questioned on East Anglian Day Times. I mean, Jonathan Pearce said it himself in the commentary on Matchday last week at Goodison. Ipswich conceded the most set piece goals. So to go back to what your original point was, Keith Andrews has probably been watching us from free kicks and corners. Now we're setting up and thinking they can expose it. And I mean, look, it took 3 bites of the cherry, but they did. I mean, the irony yesterday, of course, as David, who sits next to me, said that Kevin Schade, who scored, Schade, das ist sehr schade in German, means what a shame, what a pity. And that could probably just sum up our defending from set pieces of the entire season, I mean, it was an odd appointment to begin with, Hudson, wasn't it? I mean, there was eyebrows were raised, weren't they? I mean, he was a really good guy. Just taking that out of the equation, we're just looking at it as in a footballing scenario.
Of course, yeah.
You bought someone in from Sheffield United who was their defensive coach that have conceded 100+ goals in the Premier League the season before. So you're now going into the Premier League with aspirations to stay there, and bringing someone in who's from a team that was losing 8-0 at home to Newcastle. And they were shipping goals left, right, and centre at Bramall Lane, weren't they? I mean, just like leaky ship.
Yeah.
And we've done it. And whilst we've been slightly more defensively sound than what the Blades were, we've been a disaster. Either end of the pitch on set pieces, we don't score them, and we concede too many. And we did it again yesterday. I mean, O'Shea should probably have done better. Really, he should have been probably at that far post. I mean, just sort of put a bit of a despairing dive in, didn't he? But it was already in the back of the net.
It was a good finish. Good finish. It really good header. Really
very good team.
Good header.
Yeah, they're really good. I mean, again, going back, I'm sure that's kind of what McKenna wants, really. I mean, you've got Mbeumo and Visser, I think, who are probably the standouts moving forward, but they're very functional, get forward as a team. And they are really good. And like you say, once they got the corner taken, it was a great run from Shard, and he just nods it in. And it's something we've not done. When you consider the physical presence that Delap has in those scenarios, we've not exposed that, we've not been able to exploit that at all, have we? For our own benefit. Not done it once. And
I reckon, Mark Hudson's probably someone you want to go out with, socialise with. He seems a really nice guy when you heard him speaking in the press. And I know you've told me he's a great guy, but this isn't about that. It's about the body of work, and it hasn't been good enough for me all season long. And what makes it worse in a way, Matt, is just how glaringly different we are from last year. Like, if we weren't great last year, then you're not going to, there's not that much drop off or pick up. But we were so good at set pieces last year at different situations that it's so glaringly obvious that that's just not here this year. And it could be a number of reasons, but I know Steve's saying it's very easy to blame the coach, and it is easy to blame the coach. But as with management, you don't sack 22 players, do you? You don't ever say, "Oh, right, we're sacking the whole squad." It's that manager, and as a set piece, he lives and dies by the results that speak for themselves, as Jonathan Pearce said yesterday on Match of the Day, which I didn't say.
We just had more creativity. I mean, I know it's against lesser opposition, but in League One and the Championship, we just had more creativity, I think, in terms of how we tried to score from set pieces. And very instrumental to that was Chaplin. And it was great to see Chaplin play, because he's still one of my favourite players. And I thought he'd be able to step up to the Premier League. But I think yesterday, there's probably, we'll get to this in a second, but I think there's probably two players yesterday that aren't quite good enough for the Premier League. And I would say Chaplin has got a foot in that water. And I think probably Jack Taylor as well. It just seems a little bit stretched too far, because where Chaplin in the Football League is so instrumental in us going forward, and like we say, from corners, and you want someone on his left foot, edge of the box, Chaplin, brilliant. And I think we saw that against Bournemouth, didn't we? That's the only game he's scored in. I mean, I know he's had an injury hit season, hasn't he? But it just seemed apparent to me yesterday that when Chaplin in the Football League was very instrumental in that 10 role, wherever he played, between the central midfield and the striker, he was that thread between. But yesterday, he just seemed to be drifting, recycling the ball around. And I know he'd been poorly the night before, I think, and had still played the game, so fair play to him. But I want him to do so well, because he's been so brilliant for us. And like I say, he's one of my favourites. But I don't know, it just seems a stretch too far. And I would say probably Jack Taylor yesterday. Again, he was just kind of like... But look, this is why we're getting relegated. Yeah. The players haven't been good enough with the Premier League. It's not all on them. But I think we've put faith in players that were part of the journey that got us the fantastic double promotion. But it will require different skill sets if we're to return, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Big Chaplin fan. Obviously, full credit for gutting it out and playing despite being unwell. And that speaks volumes about the type of guy that he is, and the type of guy that we know him to be. I love him.
Been on the show, isn't he?
Yeah, I love him. Brilliant. I love him. He's starting to fall a little bit into the Burgess category, in the sense of when you return, if you return, the season after next, is he going to be a player that's going to be good enough? Probably not. So you're going to be looking to replace him. Yeah. You've got Sammy Sponix next year. He'll be great in the Championship. We know what Chaplin can do, and you saw glimpses of it yesterday. And being unwell doesn't help the
No, of course
the
not.
analysation of
No.
you can't analyse him really well, can you, when he's not well? Because it's difficult to say how much of the game was passing him by through illness or how much of the game was passing him by through
we can't say that.
Speed and quality. But in terms of Burgess, again, I thought he was magnificent yesterday. A few times.
Yeah. Why are we not keeping Burgess? Why are they letting him talk to other clubs? Don't get it. I mean, he's exactly what you need going into next season's campaign, I think. I like Greaves at left back as well.
They've been working on him getting forward. That's clearly obvious, because he was suddenly a marauder yesterday. He was marauding down that line, wasn't he?
I was thinking, I remember you saying, at the top of the season, Mike, would the fact that Davis is because Davis has been missing from this because of the red card, because of the suspension. And I remember you saying, is Davis hampering Clark, really? Because we know Clark likes to play in that role and get forward on the left-hand side and get down the wing and put crosses in. And, we know because of Davis playing that so well and, the assist record and all that stuff, it meant Clark was a little bit more inverted behind Delap. But, I mean, is it just opening up a little bit more space for him? I mean, again, I thought he'd done well when he come on yesterday himself. But I quite like Greaves in there. But I like Burgess in the left centre-back position as well. Do you know what I mean? So, I'd be keeping Burgess next season. I think if he had played more games, not to sound like Mike Brownhead, a fisherman, God bless him, but if he played more games, he'd have been in for a shout for Player of the Year, I think, this season. Because there was certainly that stretch, we've mentioned it before, October through to Christmas, and he goes missing, gets dropped, doesn't he, for the Palace game, and Greaves come back in. They were fantastic defensive performances. And you saw a flavour of it again yesterday. So if he's doing that against good Premier League opposition, then he should coast the Championship on paper.
It's about what Sam says here. Teams have to evolve, and that's spot on. Teams have to evolve, and as part of the evolution, you've got to look at the journey. And they might work next year. Axel, O'Shea, Burgess, and Greaves as a back four. Defensively very good. Going forward, you're not getting as much, obviously, from that left-sided position as Davis would give you. This is, of course, if Davis goes. If Davis doesn't go, he's automatically my left back for me.
Well, yes, he is, isn't he? But question mark at the moment, isn't there? He's a sellable asset.
Exactly, yeah. But if you were to return with that back four, you kind of know it's not going to be good enough. So as I said,
So you're being entitled now. You're now dismissing the next 46 games that are coming. And
not at all. Not at all.
That's what you'll be told.
Not at all. I'm not discounting anything. I think it's going to be a very tough.
I do agree.
Campaign.
But
you've got to look long term and think, well, you are a relegated side with parachute money, with Premier League players. Even if you lost 5 or 6, the squad is still a very talented squad. And you've got to look long term. You can't obviously plan to finish 14th in the Championship. You've got to plan to come back stronger.
Well, I mean, people had, like we say, we're looking at kind of Brentford last season. Natural facts. I mean, look, Brentford only stayed up last season, didn't they? I think they got 38 points, maybe. So we were looking at them as maybe something we could replicate. What was it, like 9 wins, 10 draws, whatever, rest of losses. That's half your games. But it was apparent yesterday, like head and shoulders above what Ipswich are.
Yeah.
Just in terms of they're so athletic getting forward, aren't they? And just so dangerous. I mean, you talk about sort of players that might believe in. I could see Amari Hutchinson getting into that side. I'm not saying he's going to displace someone like Mbumo, but certainly he could be part of that setup there.
Well, this was a question I was going to ask you, because obviously you've seen Brentford now twice this season. You saw him up close and personal yesterday. And reportedly, the Amari Hutchinson release clause is 30 million. Which would put him on the cusp, if it was 30 million, of being one of Brentford's record signings.
Yeah.
Is that, yesterday, did you look at Amari and think, do you know what, if they spent 30 million on him and made him one of their or closest to their record signing, he would slot right in? Or did you feel actually they probably had at this point slightly better options, and 30 million would be a lot of money for a club?
It is.
To go and buy basically a player that's going to come off the bench.
Yeah, I totally agree. We were kind of talking about this last week, weren't we? In terms of like 30 million is quite a lot if it's not going to be your marquee signing. Because if you're looking to spend, I don't know, 40 to 50 or whatever, that's a considerable amount of your budget on what might be a B or C option. But so, I mean, that's the dynamic, isn't it? I suppose that's the conundrum. I mean, if you just bought Amari Hutchinson for 20 million, they're going to want to make a considerable margin on that. And if the release clause is 30, then who might be in play for that? West Ham, maybe, I don't know. But then you look at, they took a punt on Somerville, and he's barely played for West Ham this season. He's been in and out of the side, be it on the bench all through injury. But look, I'm just looking at the table now. Brentford are 8th. So they're 6 points behind Forest. So still probably not going to get European spots. But who knows what might happen if Manchester City win the cup or whatever. You might get a European spot, go down to 8th. Well, actually, I think it will, couldn't it? It's going to be, was it Man City Palace, isn't it? Yeah. So City were to win that, Brentford would be in Europe at the moment. So, I mean, that would...
They were saying it, weren't they, yesterday, European tour. We're all going on a European tour.
Yeah, so that would open. So maybe 30 million wouldn't be that. It would be something they could just splash on someone who might be in and out of their side. I mean, they spent a lot of money on that Igor Thiago come on yesterday.
Well, he's their record signing at 33 million.
Yeah, and he's barely played this season. He arrived injured pretty much with knee injury.
He's been injured, isn't he? But 33 million is their record signing as of February 2024. I just feel, I don't know. I think the release clause might price him out of a few clubs. And it might have been a negotiation. If someone like Brentford, for example, were interested, it might be that it's not 30 million. It's less because the club have negotiated to sell it. I don't know. Yeah. I don't think he will leave, but I'm going to be wrong. Probably.
I hope he stays because again, we're talking about, in Ciso. I agreed with the man of the match in the stadium yesterday. I thought in Ciso was brilliant just because he was trying to make stuff happen at 1-0 down. And then everyone goes, could we keep in Ciso for next season because he'd rip up the championship? That's going to be unlikely, I think, given
very unlikely.
Brighton are also on the periphery of that 8th spot as well. And they've got aspirations to get into Europe, and Ciso plays for Paraguay and he want to get to the World Cup. I don't know what the South American qualifying is, but I'm sure he wants to be in that if they're still in with a shout of going to North America. So he will be wanting to play at the highest level. So taking that out of the equation, Amari will be sensational in the championship next season for us. I mean, look how he grew in the first season. Raw kid, wasn't too sure where he was going to go, to scoring worldies against Hull City and pretty much undroppable. I think he can have that season right from the off. And the world's his oyster, I think, in the Football League next season. But whether or not someone takes a punt on 30, 35 million on relegation goals, we'll have to wait and see. But it would have to be ace, that would have to be close to their biggest signing, I think.
Well, this is it. I was looking because I was thinking who might be interested in Amari. And a lot of the clubs you would list, that would be in and around their record signing. And I just think they'd probably want an instant starter if they're going to go in some places, break their record signing, in other cases, almost match it. Because they look at Brentford. They signed Thiago thinking he was going to be their centre forward. Obviously, injuries have hurt that. But next year they were looking at him thinking, right, we spent 33 million. We kind of want him to lead the line. I would have thought. I'm not a Brentford fan. I can't speak. So if you're a Brentford fan, let me know. We've got some comments. Richard Chan said, let's talk about refs and VAR today. He's seen something used when the Newcastle game, a match of the day in the Everton game, but not in ours. Chaplin was our best player last week in the 10, says Richard Chan. I think we've missed him a lot, integral to how we play, which I do agree with. And I think, it's going to be a good battle next year between him and Sammy Schmodix for that 10 position, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, both have suffered with long-term injuries though this season, Martin. So we've got to make sure we get them back to 100% and play in games. We can't afford, if we want to get promoted next season, or even, I want us to lift in that big trophy, that famous trophy at Portman Road next season. I want McKenna to be able to do that. It's another chapter to the story, isn't it? I mean, this is the chapter we didn't want, relegation, but let's bounce back and win silverware. We only just missed out to get to Leicester, didn't we, last season? But yeah, we need players fit and firing. Ditto George Hurst. 20 games for George Hurst next season ain't going to cut it, is it?
No.
And neither would knowing the impact Smodix had at Blackburn, which was 27 goals, 30 plus in all competitions. Hopefully he can come back all guns firing and do that. And we know what Connor can do in the Football League. I mean, he was our top scorer getting promoted, wasn't he? So yeah. Ditto Broadhead, get him back in the mix. We know he can do it at this level. We've got a lot of options. We've got a lot of options, haven't we? And then you keep Amari, hopefully, fingers crossed, or Davis or someone, and we're in the best position ever going back down, I think.
Well, this is it. Yeah, you've got, I know people are saying, can we sign in Ciso? But, I don't think that's going to happen. Take that off the table for a minute. You've still got 2 players in every position. Broadhead, Jack Clark, left wing. Amari on the right. And you've got Wes Burns, you've got Ogbene. In the 10, you've got Schmodix and you've got Chaplin. Up front is the only position where, again, like my 2 such midfield players, I'm going to go and spend some big money, because you've got George Hurst, who, if you love George Hurst, like most of us all do, let's be honest, you want him to do really well. But equally, you look at the games he's missed, and I think we said it on last week's show. There was like 60 odd points that sadly he missed out on because of the games he was injured. You can't run that risk. when you want to be a promoted side. You've got to have a number two or somebody who's 1A, 1B. So that's where I'd spend some big money next year. Not because I don't rate George Hurst, because you need an insurance policy and you need to push players. Players get better by being pushed. And
we've seen it with Hurst this season. I think just the Delap influence. We keep saying it week in, don't we? He's so combative, isn't he, Delap? And you've seen that rub off on Hurst. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, look, Enciso was fantastic yesterday, just in terms of the quality he had moving forward, trying to make stuff happen. It's a shame he didn't quite find the magic in his boots that he had at Goodison to get us back on level terms. But people in and around the box, people were buzzing, which was what I was hoping we would see against like the likes of Southampton when he first come in. But it didn't. It didn't happen, did it? But I mean, he was even tearful, wasn't he, when he came around the pitch yesterday at the end? You probably didn't see Smart because you were setting up, but he come down past the North Stand and to me in the Pioneer, and you could he sort of stopped. He was very emotional, and you'd seen him very, very sort of cajoled in the crowd, didn't you, on the corners and stuff? And I think that's fantastic from a lone player. Don't fall in love with lone players. It's always been our mantra, isn't it? Be it the Salida, whoever, for out or going years back. Yeah. So that's why everyone's going, oh, if we could sign him, really. But that kind of attitude, fantastic. And he's so good with the ball. He's just like, well, as we said before, street footballer. Literally sticky controls, you like to say, right? Like, even when he's falling down, he still manages to get the ball back on the touchline and stuff. That was right in front of me. That superb.
He would be a cheat code in the Championship.
Yeah, he really would be. But I'm hoping that's going to be Amari. I'm hoping you talk about players rubbing off on each other. Hopefully that can be Amari for next season. But yeah, it seems so. Will have aspirations to. He's certainly put Brighton, Brentford to 8th and playing Europe. He'll want to be part of that, won't he? Albeit another loan, if not another loan in the Premier League, I think. Shame though. It was great we got him in, and we said at the time it was a good signing, but hasn't quite.
Well, you
don't know. Yeah, well, it just hasn't. I did.
I'll
say
give you the credit because you.
Yeah, I mean, now you're seeing it, but unfortunately, you're seeing it now. We're relegated, sadly. But I was just hoping we would have seen that from the off, but it's easy to say.
But he had some injuries, didn't he? Which slowed him coming into the starting lineup. I'm going to get a few more comments. Just drop the link. So if you want to come on and have your say about your football club, it's your chance to do so. Just click it. You don't necessarily need a webcam, just a microphone. But if you have got a webcam, that's brilliant. So we can see you as well as hear you. But Matt, before I get some more comments, did you like George Hurst's new hairstyle yesterday?
I thought he gone grey overnight. I thought, what's happened there? But it's like that platinum blonde shade.
Yeah, Eminem style, wasn't it?
It was
shady.
Yeah.
It was brilliant because yesterday, when he was getting ready to come on, I knew he'd changed his hair, so I knew it was him on the sidelines. And everyone ran around me saying, "Oh, he's bringing Wolfie on. Who's he bringing Wolfie on for? Who's that?" And I was sitting there just sort of thinking, "It's not Wolfie. You'll be. Oh, it's George Hurst. Yeah, it's George Hurst. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it suited him.
I felt sorry for Wolfie missing out because Twanzebe come back. That was the only change, wasn't it? Twanzebe come back in for Wolfenden. I think Wolfenden's done all right in these games.
I agree.
It's just, well, I don't know. I mean, it's just Kieran just loves to tinker it around. I mean, he's had fewer and fewer changes now since we've been relegated. Have you noticed? We've gone from 4 and 5s to 1s and 2s. Yeah. There was only one change yesterday. But
it's strange. Yeah, it's funny that if only he'd sort of maybe done that a little bit sooner. But Axe went off injured, didn't he? I hope it's nothing.
Is that what it was? Was it an injury? Did they?
Well, he was stretching out in front of me.
Oh, maybe
it may have been cramp. It may have been. I don't know.
Yeah, from a Twanzebe injury, we've said this all season, haven't we? On and off the pitch, which is why I think.
And I'm not 18 games, so I don't know. But he was stretching before he went off. Maybe
a little muscle strain or something. I would love the local media to ask whether or not Godfrey's in the mix to stay next season if Twanzebe was something.
I wouldn't have thought so, Matt.
I think that's why he was brought in to begin with, because of the Twanzebe contract situation. There's a big question mark around his fitness. I mean, great player, really good defender, but again, we're talking about availability. Is he going to give us 46 games in the Championship? Unlikely. Certainly, even less likely given it's Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, wherever how it's going to be for us next season. Twanzebe.
Well, he did it before.
Yeah. I wouldn't put all your cards on the table for Twanzebe staying fit, which is why I liked Godfrey coming in to begin with, because I think he could slot in there quite nicely. Now, whether or not he'd be willing to jump down into the Championship, I don't know. But he went off the radar for months. I mean, that's no exaggeration, is it? After Tottenham, we didn't see him again for ages, did we?
Well, I do feel a little bit sorry for Ben Godfrey because he came in and I think his first 3 opponents were.
Well, Bristol Rovers was his first one, so he looked really good in that. And then, of course, he's got Doku, Man City,
Son.
and Son. Yeah, and then it was kind of like, see you later. Yes, he's been unlucky, really. But I think he's good. And let's not forget, it was only like 3-4 years ago. He was in the England setup. So, well, as we were discussing this at the game yesterday, and you got the same argument about Calvin Phillips. But he was in the England setup 4 years ago or whatever. But I don't know. I think Godfrey would be good in the Championship. I just wondered, because we always wondered why that was brought in, didn't we? That was like from left field a little bit. And I just wonder whether or not it's to give them an option if Tuanzebe doesn't sign a new contract.
We've not seen enough of him, and I don't know why we've not seen enough of him. Unless someone knows, they can tell me. Brilliant, but until you know, you kind of got to assume it's just not being selected, right? It's just one of those things. He says Brentford's a little. That's why you're going down. Rob says, "Agrees. My man of the match yesterday played very well again, filling at left back." Trevor, the club is talking to Burgess. It's his choice to stay or not. Richard Chandler, they weren't head and shoulders above us yesterday. That's in response, I think, to you saying they were head and shoulders above us. Richard's saying they're not.
Oh, I think they was in second gear. Yesterday, Brentford.
See, I thought it was very close. I thought it just added to the misery of going down because you were.
What chances did we really have, though? We've hit the post. Amari hits the post. They gave that corner, didn't they? Was it that's your side, mine, wasn't it? With the keeper Fleck and put that onto the post, did he?
Yeah, he saved it. Yeah, it was a good save.
Right.
So you had Amari, you had the lap in the first sort of
but easy header for Flecken to save.
He's got to do better with that. He's got to do a little bit better though. He's unmarked.
Yeah. Either side of the keeper that way, it's it straight to him. And then obviously you got the Burgess one. I was up for that was going in. His left foot volley. Was it Amari put the ball into the box? And Burgess arrived there. I thought that was going in. I just felt I just felt Brentford was comfortable, to be honest with you.
You see, I thought it was two sides that were quite well matched, and it was going to take what it did, a set piece or a bit of brilliance to sort of win the game. And as I said at the start of the show, mate, it just adds to the frustration because you've gone toe to toe with a team that's going to be in the European places this year. You've almost had half the possession against a very good Brentford side.
Yeah,
you just lack that je ne sais quoi, that magic.
It's probably going down, isn't it? Well, the home form's been
terrible.
The home form's been terrible. The away form's decent, isn't it? What is it, 18, 19 points, something like that? We've done the business away from home. Well, it's not great. But I mean, look, in terms of trying to finish 17th, it's pretty good. And that's not a question being asked either. Why have Ipswich been so bad at home this season? We've not even got a home point in this calendar year. Not one. We're only team in England.
Well, it won't be asked until, heaven forbid, you start poorly next year. And then it'll be brought up and it'll be asked because the pressure will start to build. At the moment, it's a I won't say goodwill, but it's certainly a more of a laid back because you look at the stats. I think a Brentford fan or a Town fan said it on our match reaction comments. They laid the the facts down in terms of games won recently, and it is abysmal. There is no hiding from stats. Stats. Facts don't care about your feelings. But I'm just trying to find it because it was one of those. It was like, oh, I didn't realize it was that poor, but I can't find it. Anyway, we'll move on. I'll bring in Stephen Parry first of all. Steve, welcome in. What's your thoughts?
Hi, Steve. You all right?
Yeah, I thought like you go. I thought it was probably the closest you could get to getting something without getting something. Brentford have had like 3 games at three wins in a row, scoring 10 goals in that game. Yeah, in them games. And then they did struggle. I do think the defense for their goal. Yeah, it was poor, but. You on this one, you can turn around and say there's reasons. The delays. It probably didn't help. They're probably more used to it because they've been using VAR for longer. Everyone can say, yeah, but it's the end of the season now. It must still affect them. I don't know. I'm not a player. None of us are players. We don't know what players go. They probably set up for one way, and then they've changed it, and they've got to set up another way. Then because it gives them like 3 bites of the cherry at one corner. Would the first one have gone in if there wasn't any grappling? Granted, on both sides. I don't think the referee had a very good control of the game, if you want my opinion. Yeah.
Do you not?
No, I think he should be stamping down on things like that because it was happening in their box as well. So I think he should be stamping down. If he gives a penalty for them, fine, I can accept that. Yeah, because it sets down a marker not to do it again. And then it stops. Because I've seen this on numerous occasions in numerous games. The ref lets the ball come into the box, he gives a free kick or a penalty. Yeah. Or he doesn't give anything. Let the game flow. Let the game play. Because the referee could have let the corner come into the box and then give a penalty for Brentford. So what? You can clearly see it was deserved. Yeah.
Yeah.
But by letting them keep taking the corner over and over again. It's like trying to dig the referee out just in case he makes an error. And I find that and it allows the players to effectively do whatever they like. And, and Cecil was getting chopped down every 5 seconds. He wasn't even bothered. I really do think he didn't have control of that game. And as soon as he gave anything for us, they were all in his face. That's something we don't do. I always thought at the start of the season, the rule was only the captain talks to the referee. Hell no. They're all doing it. And we don't do it. And I find that really annoying. We might do the odd passing, somewhat. These are virtually assaulting the referee,
Yeah.
And at the end of it, we don't do any of that. We need to be a damn sight more streetwise, yeah. And if it gets us some more bookings, it gets us some more bookings. We can turn around and say, well, you never booked these lot for doing it. You never booked these lot for doing it. Because I can guarantee you, every game I've seen in the Premier League, yeah, when players have gone up screaming at referees, he's never booked any of them. And what was it? Earlier on in the game, he said he didn't book when he booked those two in the box. He didn't book them for the foul, for the first corner. The commentary said he booked them for speaking out to the referee. Now, if that's the case, Brentford were doing that all game. They should have all been off the field. The simple fact is you can't have standards like that where you're not booking them for the foul. The commentary said they found out that they booked it because both players spoke unkindly or something to the referee. I think the words he used. And they were doing that all game and we weren't. And I know everybody says it's small margins, but these little things matter because it puts doubt in the referee's mind. And it starts to make the referee think, well, I can get away with these because I'm not going to say anything. But if I do anything for these, they're going to have a go at me. And nobody likes being having a go at, So I don't think the referee had full control of the game, probably because they were more streetwise at doing it than we were. And I think we need to learn about that.
Matt, your thoughts on that as the XFA man?
Thanks for bringing that up. I agree with what you're saying, Steve. We've had no luck with that referee this season. He was Sam Barrett. He was the referee for the 6-0 against Man City. It goes back to what we said at the top, doesn't it? You see the inconsistencies with VAR when it gets involved. You're seeing inconsistencies minute to minute on trying to take a corner 3 times. You've seen inconsistencies on Vista's overhead kick, right on Nuts Greaves.
To be honest, looking at the 2 incidents, I know the outcome was different, but looking at the 2 incidents, that's no more dangerous than the Millwall goalkeeper. That is no more dangerous. And he used his foot. Yeah. He did make contact, but so did this guy. He made contact. He could have took his head off with that. You know what I mean? There's no difference. The only difference was the outcome. Yeah. Now, if he'd have been hurt from that, maybe he would, but he couldn't have given a red card then because he'd already give red. He's already give yellow. You can't overturn it. You can upgrade it, but you can't give another decision once the referee's given it. I think he was quick to jump in there. Yeah. I think he should have referred it. I don't know whether you can refer cards to VAR. In instances like that, they should do. I'm not saying book everybody who does an overhead kick, but if there's contact, it has to be looked at because it is endangering the player. You know what I mean? So if you make an overhead kick and we're near the player, you're a foot away from the player, that's fine. But if you're not even kicking him with the foot you're going for the ball with, you're kicking him with the other foot. That is out of control completely. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that go on in games. I'm not, like I said, I'm not digging out referees. I think some referees just don't have control of the games. You don't have the Kalinas anymore and people like that. And you knew where you stood and you weren't going to win no matter what you tried. You know what I mean? You don't have these strong referees and players know that and they take advantage of that. And managers even tell players, this guy, you can do whatever you like to. Push the boat out. I'm sure they do. They must do. Because it can't go from having the situation where the rules are only the captain can talk to the referee, and all of a sudden you've got 11 players around the referee. You can't have that. I thought that's what this rule was being stamped out for. So the FA needs calling out, the players need calling out, and the managers of those players need calling out. Why are you doing it? Because clubs who don't do it, and we don't do it enough, if that's the standard, let's do that. Let's go and do that. Let's put some pressure on referees to give us decisions. Because right now we're not doing, and everybody else is, and we're losing out because of it. I'm not saying it's going to change the way we'd finish in the league, but it would give might give us the odd point. There's lots of circumstances why we've gone down. Mistakes are a reason why we've gone down. Some poor transfers might be a reason why we've gone down. You know, being a little bit too expressive at home. I think we should be a bit more pragmatic like we are away. You know, we're not Man City, we're not Barcelona. Let's do what we do best and we do it well away. Do that at home. You know, I don't mind it if Davies doesn't go flying down the wing, at home, just because it makes fans go, way. It's no good if he loses the ball and they go up and score. You know, they're not going way. That, you know, I think there's a lot of things that was naivety when we went in the league because we've been out of it so long that we've had to learn. And I do think we'll come back a better team. And I do think some of the players do need to change. We have got our blue-tinted glasses on and saying, oh, well, these players have come along with us. Some of them aren't good enough. And some of them have probably reached the level. You know, we've all agreed the central midfield needs a good revamp. You know, I don't think Chaplin's up for it. He's a fantastic squad player. And that's where I'd have him next season. And if we got back to the Premier League, I'd think about having him as a squad player next season. But the journey's been so quick, it's very difficult for for the club to keep up with the players. You know, we built a Championship club in League One, and then we didn't have time to build a Premier League club in the Championship because we were there. We had to do it in the Premier League while we were playing the games, and that's never a good. That's never a good reason. You know, that's never a good way of doing it. But all in all, I've been relatively pleased with the way we played this season. There's a lot of games where you can sit there and go, on another day, we could have got something. There's some games where we've been blown out of the park, I agree. But there's some games you can think, well, on another, you know, you look at Fulham, both games, we could have won both of them. United, both games, we could have won both of them. You know, there's even Forest, a dodgy penalty. You know, we could have got some of the. There are games where stupid things have made us lose games or draw games, and sometimes that's just a matter of luck, a matter of, you know, I saw a stat ages back that we were bottom of the luck table. You know what I mean? And that just really just goes to show.
Didn't know there was one. Didn't know there was one.
Decisions, injuries, and things like that, and we're bottom of it. You know what I mean? Exactly. And when you go down that route, you know you're not having a good season. You know, I just looked at it last season. Everything went for us. Late goals, injuries, everything went for us last season. Yeah. This season, everything's gone for us. No late goals, hell of a lot of injuries. You know, that's probably why we're not making as many changes and not as many people to change it to. You know what I mean? It's a bit difficult to change players when they're all injured. But I look forward to next season. I'm not overconfident. I'm not arrogant. I can be confident without being arrogant. That's what I'd like to say. You know, we're one of the better teams in there. There will be challenges, of course there will. You know, but I'm confident we can do better. And I'm sure, rather than focusing on the players who are leaving, I think we should focus on the players who are coming in, because I'm sure the club will back the manager to get the right players that we need for next season.
Excellent, Steve. Thanks for coming on the show and calling everybody out. We appreciate it. Look after yourself. All the best.
Good points Steve made there, Martin. Yeah, you think because I can't really think of the word really. Ipswich need to show a bit more devilment maybe in the Championship season, and you know, have the swag of a club that has come down from the Premier League and views itself as a big club now dropping down into the Championship. And of course, you're not going to have the benefit of VAR helping you on decisions. Therefore, I agree with what Steve's saying there. You've got you know, it's unsporting, I suppose. It's gamesmanship a little bit, but you're not going to have technology helping you next season. And I think you probably need to show a bit more streetwiseness in how they game management of it. But yesterday, he's totally spot on.
This is it. I'm going to bring in Richard Chandler. Richard, welcome in. Thanks for waiting. What's your thoughts this afternoon?
Hi. It's all about VAR and refs for me, to be honest. Refs at every level, we saw in League One and Championship, they're bad, but they're next level of bad in the Premier League, because you either get a ref who makes no decisions because they wait for VAR to come in and step in and make the decisions for them, or you get refs like yesterday where he seemed to want to be the central part of everything and then wasn't getting decisions right and was making bizarre ones. I think if the ball's in play, it's probably a penalty against us.
100% it is, yeah.
But there's about 4 groups of players tussling. I'm watching the Newcastle-Chelsea game now, and they've just showed a slow-mo, and there was 4 groups of Newcastle and Chelsea players tussling with each other. Refs done nothing, corners happened, carried on. So inconsistent, it's untrue. And yesterday on Match of the Day, they said it was the first time this season that a ref's gone against what VAR have said when he got called over to the screen in the Everton game and went with his on-field decision. That's the first time this season that's happened.
Unbelievable.
And you're not telling me all of the other ones where they've gone to the screen, they're not right. The ref's not made. That's just completely shows that it doesn't work.
Yeah, agreed.
Frame it, Matt.
And on the Bissell one, in the Newcastle Chelsea game, the ref gave a yellow card for Jackson challenging. I can't even remember, Botman, I think it was. VAR have looked at it and called him over to the screen because on second viewing, you can see that Jackson's not even looked at where the ball is and he's led with his elbow and he'd overturned his yellow and turned it to a red. That's what should have happened with Viti yesterday, because that is dangerous play.
With VAR, when are they going to go to putting the pressure on the clubs? Because at the moment, it's a free-for-all. VAR step in whenever VAR sort of seemingly feel like they need to step in. With football clubs now, Rich, having analysts for tactics, analysts for fitness, analysts for sleeping patterns, having set-piece coaches, however good or bad they may be. When are we going to move to this? Clubs can have 2 challenges per game, and the pressure's on them to employ somebody whose sole job is to sit in that stand and watch that screen and scream down when he thinks his coach needs to make a challenge, and completely remove the pressure from VAR officials and just let the game go unless a coach challenges it. When are we going to move to that?
I think we probably won't move to that because it doesn't benefit the big clubs, does it? And that sounds like
down even more.
Yeah, and that sounds like I'm suggesting that potentially there's corruption in football. Who knew? But the Premier League and the FA want it to be a Super League, and we're pretty much there anyway, because you're only ever going to get the same 3 go up and down while the system's the way it is. And they've got the Super League without getting voted in, haven't they? So the top echelons of the governing bodies within football need to be able to step in and do it, but I don't think they've got any want to.
I just
everyone put their cards. Everyone put their cards on the table in the summer, Ipswich included, because Wolves pulled the motion. Let's get rid of VAR, and they were the only club that voted yes to get rid of it. And ourselves, Ipswich included, said let's keep it. But everyone hates it. You heard in the stadium yesterday. The chance.
Yeah, but then, sorry, I was just going to say, but then you hear what I think it was Mark Ashton and McKenna said in their interview, the first interview they did sort of, I don't know, 10 games, 15 games in. And they said they were given assurances by PGMOL. And they probably, from the way that interview was, they didn't say it, but I don't think they would have voted for VAR then. And that was 30 games ago. They certainly wouldn't be voting for it now.
Exactly.
I just feel like there's too much pressure at the moment on the officials when they're not getting it right, and we need to put the pressure back on the football clubs. They need to employ, and you're right, it might benefit some clubs over other clubs, but put the onus on them to find somebody who's a good analyst at spotting when they can challenge, and also you remove this whole stop start, which is so boring for fans in the stadium who aren't told anything. They're kept in the dark. You get a little message on the screen that gives you absolutely no context. You're not told anything afterwards. Just, like yesterday, for example, if it'd been a coach's challenge, fine, fair enough. But if they'd lost the challenge, he loses that challenge for that half. And then that club aren't going to have any more VAR interruptions. If they get a clear-cut penalty, or a goal like the Leyton Orient goal yesterday, and you've already done a challenge and fouled, that's on you as a football club to make sure your challenges are correct. At the moment, It's a free-for-all of boredom. Like yesterday, Axel Tuanzebe is being checked for a penalty. I didn't even see a foul. Why are we checking for a penalty? What is going on here? Stop, start. It's boring, Rich. Completely boring.
But even that's inconsistent as well, isn't it? Because, like you said earlier in the show, if you're looking at corners, you could give a penalty or a free kick every single corner.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Because there's a foul or multiple fouls by both sides in every box, in every set piece. And that's never getting sorted. So you either let it go and you don't ever pull them up unless it's something obviously dangerous, or you do something, because VAR isn't working. It's not fit for purpose because it's not clear and obvious errors.
No, exactly. Just ask Joe.
Look at the Jack Clark one against Everton, the penalty that got overturned by VAR.
Yeah.
Live, full flow, 100% everyone thought that was a penalty, including the ref.
Yeah.
Every day of the week that gives. But yesterday, George Hurst is going through on goal, and from where I sat and on Match of the Day, it looks like he gets his heel clipped.
Yeah, it does.
Doesn't even get given as a foul. Doesn't get reviewed. He's the last man, so it's probably a straight red as well. I know it's very late on in the game, but I don't care. You can't have one rule for one for others.
This is it, isn't it? This is it. And I think, it needs a review, as people have said in the chat, and it's not something we have to worry about next year, obviously, now, because we haven't got, well, unless they suddenly bring it in, rush it through in the summer, but we haven't got VAR next year. Before I let you go, Rich, obviously, I know you're on the supporters, I want to say association, is that the correct term? Is it
committee, supporters club committee?
Apologies, but you're looking for people, aren't you? Do you want to put a little broadcast out? Because I think you're looking for new members, aren't you?
We are indeed. So the constitution has that we can go up to 10 people, and because of various reasons, we're now down at sort of 6 or 7. So we're looking to get that back up to 10, and because that will help enable us to be able to put more events on and do stuff to raise funds for either the foundation or other charities and things. And we will be doing the walk that we've done 2 years on the trot now. We'll be doing that again in the new season, but details of that to be announced at some point as well.
And if fans are interested, how do they sort of let you know that they're interested to get involved in the committee?
Yes, so there's details on the supporters club page on Facebook, and on, I always call it Twitter, still X, and those were the days have got a link to it as well. And there'll be some meetings had between the committee to discuss any applications. But it seems like there's quite a few people interested in joining. But I'd actively encourage anyone that's keen to get involved.
Just asking for a friend. Are podcasters allowed to apply?
There's no reason why a podcaster can't apply.
Why are you pointing at me?
He's asking for a friend. That was all. He's over there in the distance somewhere. No, okay, excellent. There you go. Good to know.
I didn't know Mrs. Lambert wanted to be.
I'm talking about Matthew Phillips. I think we might nominate him. Let's make it happen. Rich, we appreciate you. And if anyone's interested, go ahead and get involved. But Rich, look after yourself. Thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Cheers. Bye, guys.
Bye. You're not fancying that idea then? Me nominating you to go on there?
No, not for me. That really.
Far too busy. What? Washing your hair?
Upkeeping
your garden.
Who's this Nigel fella? I thought Nigels were Crystal Palace fans here, Martin. Look, what is the Pratt talking about regarding the overhead kick? Nigel, being a good guest. You've come on our Ipswich Town podcast there.
It's also got to be more specific. Saying the word Pratt and talking town.
Yeah.
As certain places on the internet will tell you, Matt, that ain't specific enough. That it's quite a broad brush. Right, that could be me, or that could be you. That could be you. That could be me. Like,
I thought we gave Brentford plenty of kudos, but sometimes just not enough, is it, for some people? But there we go. Never mind.
Yeah, well, they'll enjoy their European tour next year.
And, if they don't get picked by Brighton.
Well, this is it. This is it. But anyway, we're done for the day. We're back, obviously, for a match preview show. This is our last Sunday show of the season. I'm not last ever, and not last in this time slot, etc. But obviously, the next 2 games are Sunday games. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching with a live or on catch up. What are you doing this afternoon, then, Matt? Give us a little flavour of what's the Phillips afternoon on a Sunday where it's quite warm outside. And
it is, isn't it? Yeah, I'm going to finish the clearing up outside the garden because there's obviously loads of stuff out there. Then I'm going to watch Eintracht Frankfurt versus St. Pauli this afternoon at 4:30 on Sky. Enjoy that. So it's the title's obviously been decided there, but all the European spots are still up for grabs. So
4:30 on Sky. All right. I'll make sure I'm doing something else. Anyway, we're done for today. Thanks for watching. That's been Matt. I've been the host. Thank you. I'm going to see if I can make this a lot better. But thanks for watching. Take care. God bless. And don't forget, Stowmarket Osteopaths, give Freddie a call. I'm going there, hopefully. I keep having to move my appointment. I'm not very well, but I'm going, hopefully, one day soon. Stowmarket Osteopaths, don't live life in pain. Call 01449613633, 01449613633. physiotherapy, osteopath services, give Freddie a call. And I'll see you soon, Freddie. But until that then, take care. God bless. Bye, guys.